Hey, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio, here to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I will tell you who's coming up on the show. Oh, need my light on. There, that'll make me look pretty. Now, Cliff, good morning. How are you, buddy? Nice to have you along with us. Cliff with us almost every time here. We do a Wednesday or Behind the Mic or a Wednesday Night Live, as well as Bruce. Randy, appreciate you being along with us. How are things in your world this morning? It's a little rainy outside the studio here this morning. When I came in, it didn't look like it was going to rain at all. And in fact, I was surprised to see it raining, but we'll take the rain. Mad Jack, always a pleasure. How are you? How are things over on YouTube? You can watch me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. Good morning, Joe. How are things in your world? How's the business? Bet you're glad to see some rain, huh? Jerry, good morning. Ross has got some big bears coming into baits up in White River. How cool is that? Good morning, Jerry. Jason checking in from the Ford Dearborn truck plant. Bruce, Captain Jim, you got some nice kings the other day. Looked like a good day on the water. Looked like a lot of fun. It is a time of year to get kings now, isn't it? Over on Lake Michigan, time to switch gears from fishing for gold on the east side of the state to fishing for silver on the west. Kevin said it's beautiful downriver. Tim, I'm glad to have you along with us. Emil, you've never heard I was pretty? I am very pretty. I'm on the verge of being gorgeous. Joe's busy as ever. Blessing with the rain for sure. Jeff checking in from a contaminated construction site in Southgate. Southgate? Like to hear more about that, or maybe I don't. Maybe I don't want to. Elmer, good morning. How are you? Hey, there's Josh. He snuck in on me. Josh Mapes of Overdrive Outdoors, Southgate. Yeah, there we go. Tom checking in from the Thumb. Beautiful part of the state. The Thumb is a quiet part of the state, and a lot of people in the Thumb like it to be a quiet part of the state. It's kind of a hidden gem. Billy, good morning. Hey, Uncle Johnny, how you doing, buddy? It was so nice to get together with you and your lovely bride on Monday. Even though we had a weird waiter, huh? Julie, hello. Hey, Daryl, how are things up in White River? Daryl, one of my friends from White River, Ontario, a beautiful place, great people. I love going up there. Ed Bolanowski, how you doing this morning, buddy? Paul, Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. Johnny's, are you baiting now, Johnny, or can you not start till 15th? When can you start baiting, Johnny? And are you full or I know you've got at least one opening for third season, right? Morning, Tom. Things are great in White River, Daryl says, because there's no snow. Ross says, and Big Bear. I know, Big Bear. I can't wait to see what you guys get. Oh, you can start baiting this Sunday, the 6th. And then it's rock and roll time for you, isn't it, Johnny? Once the bear baiting season starts, these guys don't get a lot of rest. Because once you get the bears coming into the baits, you want to keep them coming into the baits. The brats are great, Jim. I got my bear brats back from Michigan brand. They are great. Morning, Stephen. How are you? Appreciate you joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. Scott, I won't tell anybody that you're at work. They'll never know. It's just our secret. So can you believe it's August? It is. It's August. Recording the show for the first weekend of August. Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, don't even put anybody on a bait. Let that bait just keep baiting for a year. Let the bear get bigger, and I'll come up there next year and shoot it. I'll tell you what, Johnny, next year, I'm not going home till I get a bear. I don't care if I have to stay up there a month with you. I'm not coming home till I get a bear. I'm going to camp out at Andy's. Good morning, Gene. Gene's over at Apex Marine in St. Louis, where I know you guys are getting ready for the dealer meeting this Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I will be over there Tuesday, by the way. Ruben, how are things in Colorado? John, good morning. Another good friend of mine checking in from White River, Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters in White River, Ontario. If you're looking for a bear hunt, Ron is your guy. Although he's full, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, I think he's full for this fall's hunt, fall being in the middle of August, which is coming up real soon here now. Elmer, starting to see boats in the morning on the bay. Must be getting a few salmon out there. Starting to see early. What bay, Elmer? Where are you? Remind me. Sam, good morning. How are you, buddy? Brent, always a pleasure. How are things in your house? Johnny says, if you get a tag, and I will, I'm not taking any hunters, only you. Deal. I will be there, Gene, and I will be curious to see the reaction. And you know what I mean. Good morning, Ricky. Chris, 30 days until the early goose season. When that happens, I want you to shoot them all. Every stinking one of those big flying rats. Matt Shaw, good morning. How are you? Hello, Bruce. Stop back in Helms and say hi. Morning, Rick. Ed says, hey, wait a minute. Little Traverse Bay in Petoskey. That's right. And what a view you must have if you're overlooking Little Traverse Bay from Petoskey. Very cool. Johnny, I'll get a tag for the third season. So you can go ahead and take hunters for the first season and the second. It's Wednesday, Dan. Down to 7 treatments for Tracy, then we reevaluate. Continued prayers for you guys, Brent. So what else is on my list? It is August. Normally, in the past, good morning, Jeff. In past years, when it got to be this time of year, oh, it's hump day. That's what day it is. I haven't done this for a while. Mike, what day is it? It's hump day. I had to quit doing the hump day because it was like so obnoxious. Everybody here at WSTW and all the other stations here said, Avery, you're an idiot. Gene, have to finish prepping boats. Hope to see you next week. I'll be there, Gene. Brandon Pickens, Lake St. Clair fishing is on fire as usual. Muskie fishing, smallmouth fishing, walleye. Lake St. Clair is a fish factory. Good morning, Jacob. College Circuits Championship is this weekend. Are you fishing it? So you'll be in the UP. You must be done. This must be your last opportunity to fish on the college circuit. Hey, John. Jason has 9 bear points, tired of waiting for a red oak tag. Here's a good idea. Jason has 9 bear points. He's tired of waiting for a red oak tag. He just might go next year up to Johnny's for a bear. You could do worse than hunting with the bear whisperer, Johnny Bowler. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. All right, Johnny. Have a good day. We'll see you tonight. All right, Gene, you as well. This will 99.999999999% be it. Because John is a working man now out in the working world. No more classes or no more of this college life for John. John and his dad will be hunting with us in October in Ohio with Bill Piles of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters. I am looking forward to that, John. I know you are as well. Although I really can't get too excited about the hunting season yet. Good morning, Michael. How are you? I've had some really nice fishing trips since we last talked. Really nice. One of them with my 2 youngest grandkids. Now, my 2 youngest grandkids are 16 years old. Jerry says it's 45 degrees here this morning. Feels like deer season. John's got to start shooting his bow. Robert checking in from the Eastern UP. I'll be down there with my crossbow, John. Who is sneaking in here? We got Jim sneaking in here. Mitchell. Hello, Mike. It's salmon time for Mike Smith. Mike's over on Lake Michigan now. Mike, a really good Saginaw Bay walleye angler, as is Randy Iamurray. Friday, I'm taking my Angler Quest. I'm pulling it and having the tubes power washed because there's a bunch of crud on them. And I thought I would use that opportunity once I got the tubes cleaned off to sneak out and do some skinny water fishing. Let's see what Scott has. Walleye bite still holding on Saginaw Bay, including the skinny water bite. Scott, it's still holding up. That darn job, that JOB thing getting in the way. Yes, Jim, and we'll be talking about that on this week's radio show. In fact, I'll tell you right now, since you bring it up, who is on this week's radio show. That's the Outdoor Magazine radio show, heard on 33 stations here in the great state of Michigan. The podcast available anywhere. Devin LaFond is my first guest this week. Devin lost a bear dog to wolves in the UP last week. I want to talk with him about that. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. They're getting ready for their big outdoor weekend. In hour number 2, Nick DeShano of Offshore Tackle. You know DeShano family, the family that started Offshore Tackle. Nick's dad, Bruce, did. Bruce, a member of the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. We'll talk about trolling offshore. Nick Green of MUCC will join me then this week's Ask Avery question. I don't know what that question is going to be yet. And in our third hour, Captain Jim, Rich Krazan of Killer Food Plots talking about the fall food plot planting season. And we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. Dave, I'm sure we'll be talking about a fishing trip we had on Saginaw Bay last week where we were up in my beloved Skinny Water, took a fair number of fish, including some nice fish, a gar, a catfish, a sheephead, and a bass. And Dave took all of those fish home to eat, including the gar. Lost Glove finally starting to get some browns. Hey, good morning, Craig. How are you? Craig? Da-da-da-da-da. All right, Craig, I'll see you tonight, buddy. Good morning, Tracy. How are you? Heading over salmon fishing, a good thing to be doing. Bought my first Rapid River Knife Works knife last week. Very happy with it. Customer service and product. I will definitely be buying more. This is my Rapid River knife. There are many like it, but this one is mine. John, also in the middle of the Mitt, home of the Angler Quest fishing machine. Indeed, it is. The Angler Quest dealers meeting is coming up. There are some changes in the works. I will give you more on that when I am able to. Good morning, Ted. Appreciate you joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic. So I did have a real nice fishing trip with my two youngest grandkids, Addison and Carter. We got some fish. We had fun, and it was a wonderful, wonderful day. When Addison called me up and said, Grandpa, what are you doing Thursday? I'm like, I don't know, Addison, what am I doing? She said, could we go fishing? Hell yes, we can go fishing. When your 16-year-old granddaughter calls you and says, Grandpa, can we go fishing? You go fishing. You go fishing. Scott says the Trinity Youth Hunt winner contacted me last night. Happened to have 7 nice bucks out back during the call. They'll be camping here during the hunt. They're good people, Scott. They're very good people. You guys are going to get along just fine because, Scott, you're good people too. Mike Van Warmer, who is Gabe Van Warmer. Gabe and I got matching pair of Rapid Rivers from our moms this week. Man, they're great. It won't be your last one. I'm glad to hear that, Mike. And everybody says that. You get a Rapid River knife, and you're probably going to get more than one Rapid River knife. Chris Durson's doing a wonderful job up there, as is his crew of craftsmen there at Rapid River Knife Works. Good morning, Jake. How are you? Appreciate you joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic. Me, Mike Avery, behind the microphone. Mike Sills, Michigan Outdoorsman. I see you went fishing with Dixie Dave. Known him for years. Great guy. I didn't know you knew Dave, Mike. Yeah, so 2 great trips last week. Got fish on both of them in Skinny Water. I can't believe we're getting fish in Skinny Water this time of year. And nice fish. That's the good thing about the east winds and the northeast winds. They're keeping the cooler water in there, keeping the fish in tight. Sam selling and working on bows at Ben's Great Outdoors in Marlette this Saturday for their event. Nice to know, Sam. Excellent. And then my second trip, was with Art Lewis, broadcasting icon from mid-Michigan, at WSTW, AM and FM. Art's not a fisherman, but he wanted to go. I love introducing people to Saginaw Bay walleye fishing. The other guy we had with us is wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. Now, it was interesting for me to be the youngest guy on the boat for a change. I was fishing with a couple of old guys, and man, did we have fun. We caught fish. I heard a lot of stories. I told a few stories, and it was wonderful. It was so much fun. So much fun. And I can't wait to see how Dixie Dave cooked up that gar pike. You know, people think of catfish and gar as junk fish. I mean, we caught them trolling. They hit suspended. I mean, they hit number 7 flicker shads trolling. Also interesting, Mike Smith. I had 2 flicker shads this week disintegrate on me. They aren't built very well, are they? Where the bill attaches to the body broke right off. And we all know how crappy the hooks are on flicker shads and flicker minnows. They're junk. Good morning, Kevin. Kevin, also of Overdrive Outdoors. Check those guys out online. They do a great job. Mike Sill says he can cook up pretty much anything. He can. Hey, Mike, I got a question for you. Is the outdoors your full-time gig? Do you have another job on the side, or I hate to say a real job, but man, every time I see posts from you, I feel like you fish like 6 days a week. Mike says he's had that happen plenty of times, even eyelets ripped right out of the back. Mike, what's the name of your, is it offshore account? What's the name of your charter business, Mike Smith? Offshore what? If you want to book a walleye trip with Mike, he's pretty much done on Saginaw Bay for the year, but he's now over on Lake Michigan fishing kings. You know, I love my Angler Quest, but you want to see a nice fishing boat pushed with 400 horses of Mercury outboard? Overdrive offshore account sport fishing. Offshore account sport fishing. Yeah, Mike's a good guy. He's an excellent angler. Excellent angler. The guy can catch fish. Hey, Charlie, how are you? Thank you for the excerpt from Monday's show. It turned out very nice. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was really, really nice. And I did use it to my business benefit. Let's put it that way. I sent it to a few people. Offshore account. Who is that text from? Offshore account. Okay, I told you who's coming up. Oh, let's see. Tonight for Wednesday Night Live, it's just a standard regular Wednesday night. Mike Sills, Michigan Outdoorsman. I get up when I can. I'd like to fish with you, Mike, if possible. It'd be great, Mike. I'd like that. Although I will tell you, my walleye fishing it's not done for the year. I have all of the trips that I needed to get done for this summer done. There are a couple of them still outstanding. Ed, Craig. The only thing left on my docket now is river cruises, and we will get those done. It's been a busy, busy summer. But that'd be great, Mike. Probably won't happen this summer, but I'd love to make it happen. Although, if this skinny water fishery continues to stay strong the way it has, I don't know. Good morning, Tim. How are you? Say hi to Jen for me. I love your, what do you call that, Tim? It's not an emoji. What is that? Your profile pic? I like that. A man in a wheelchair with a gun. Your worst nightmare. A man in a wheelchair with a gun. Although it's not a nightmare. It's pretty cool, Tim. Next Wednesday night, 1 week from tonight, Amy Trotter of MUCC will join me for Wednesday Night Live. This is something we do every quarter. We check in with the folks from MUCC, see what's going on, see the things that we should be aware of. I'll look forward to that. The following week, the following Wednesday, which is the 16th, we're going to do a Wednesday Night live from the Michigan brand plant in Bay City. We're going to see how they make those excellent Michigan brand products. Let me make a note here. Wednesday Night Live with Amy is the 9th. Michigan brand is a 16th. They might even be making some Mike Avery Hunter sticks while we're there. So a couple of things to look forward to. Other Wednesday night lives in the works. We're going to go back up to Rapid River Knife Works in the UP. Hi, Jen. Ross said, Mike, when can I come get some bear brats from you? Tonight. Mike said had a lot of fun in that skinny water all summer long, didn't we? We sure did. We sure did, Mike. Gosh, and I know you do too. I love that skinny water. When you're fishing 6, 7, 8 feet of water or less, you know where the fish are. You know why they're in there. They're in there to feed. They're usually aggressive. And there's something about getting a bite when your bait is 10 feet behind the offshore board that can't be beat. I love it in there. And whenever there aren't weeds in there, that's where I'm going to be fishing. In fact, I started to say I'm pulling the Angler Quest temporarily just for a couple of hours Friday morning to get the tubes power washed because they're all crudded up. I'd like to take that opportunity to jump out to that skinny water for a couple of hours, although the forecast right now calls for a pretty strong northeast wind. Now, Mike, where we're fishing there, I could duck in a certain spot and get some protection. And Lord knows we all need protection. But we'll see if that happens. If I do that, Nick Grillo of Michigan brand is actually going to fish with me too. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Charlie, remind me to tell you a story about a meeting I went to last night. You know what kind of meeting it was. Yes, you do. 30 seconds. All right, my friends, I'm going to have to switch focus here from this microphone, my social media microphone, to this microphone, which you can't hear, my official broadcast microphone. It's not gold plated like Russia's used to be, but I think there's some titanium in there. You can't see it. It's hiding. Oh, Charlie, you're serious, aren't you? 1 2 0 0 2 1 blast off. All right, I'm going to record the first segment of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I will talk about some of the same things we've been talking about. I will not be able to answer your questions. I will not be able to directly interact with you as we have been because I'll be recording the radio show. So if you ask me a question and I don't respond, it's not because I'm being a jerk, although I'm often accused of being a jerk and often am. In this case, I will not be. I will just be doing my job. But I will be back here tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. I hope you can join me then. See, it really is the opening of the radio show. We weren't kidding. We're actually going to do it. Have a good day, my friends. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. More than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan. I'm here for 3 hours every week talking about the great outdoors, the history and tradition of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and wildlife issues and conservation issues and even some wild game cooking every week for 3 hours. And I've been here for a long time. Long time. Longer than some of you have been around. There's a certain amount of satisfaction in saying that, though. But I'm so glad you're with us this week here as we celebrate the history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle. And can you believe it that it's August now? It's August, the last kind of unofficial month of summer, although for many people, you don't even get a full month because the kids go back to school, everything starts to fire back up, and it really doesn't feel like summertime anymore, does it? It used to be a few years ago, and for many years before that, that this first couple of weeks of August to me meant one thing: heading over to Lake Michigan and fishing kings, fishing salmon. Boy, we had a lot of fun doing that. I used to go over there with my mom and dad. My dad was an avid big water angler. He taught me how to fish for kings. In fact, I barely remember my first salmon fishing trip on Lake Michigan was about 1967 or 68. We fished out of Manistee. We fished with my aunt and uncle in a fiberglass ski boat, trolling flatfish on braided line because that's all anybody knew how to do. And we caught a couple of nice kings. In fact, somewhere online, I have pictures of, I think, roughly 10-year-old Mike Avery in my baseball shirt, my Little League baseball shirt, holding up two kings, one in each arm. So I didn't have a chance, did I? And for many, many years, that's what we did. I absolutely loved it. We'd go over to Muskegon State Park, camp at Muskegon State Park, launch at the launch they had right there, fish a couple of times a day, come back, cook up fish, sleep there on the shore of Muskegon Lake, head back out in the morning. We also fished, of course, Ludington, Manistee, Frankfort, and it was just so much fun. And one of the best things about it was that time spent on the water with my mom and dad. My dad was a cop for 35-ish years. And because of that, because of what he did, he wasn't a real open guy. He was kind of guarded. And he didn't talk about a lot of things until we got on the water. And those hours trolling salmon on Lake Michigan, I got to know my dad better than any other time when he was here on Earth because he relaxed, he opened up, and he talked. And that was wonderful. Now, since he's gone, I really haven't spent that much time on Lake Michigan fishing kings. To be honest with you, some small part of me says it's just not right to go out there and do it without him. I'm sure he would say, hey, get your rear end over there and go fishing. But I did have an experience this week that kind of brought this whole concept of outdoor tradition, fishing with family, sharing good times on the water. I had a chance to fish with my two youngest grandkids on Saginaw Bay for walleye. Now, my two youngest grandkids are 16 years old, Addison and Carter. Addison, who is just crazy busy with softball, tournaments every weekend. When she doesn't have tournaments, she's got practice. She's tied up all the time. She called me early in the week. She said, Grandpa, what are you doing Thursday? I don't know, Addison. What do you want to do? Can we go fishing? Now, let me tell you something. When your 16-year-old granddaughter calls you and says, Grandpa, can we go fishing? You find a way to go fishing. You drop everything else you're doing and you go fishing. I said, Addison, is it okay if Carter comes with us too? She said, sure. So I took the two grandkids out on Saginaw Bay fishing for walleye. It was kind of a rough day. It wasn't, the waves were kind of rough. And we had a lot of weeds. So it was, I had to work, but we got some fish. And man, was it fun. And I got thinking that my dad, if he was looking down on that day, was smiling because I was smiling. It was just so much fun. And then the next day, another wonderful experience. This time, not with family, but with some really good friends. Art Lewis, Mid-Michigan radio icon, had been talking to me all summer. Said, Mike, I'd really like to get out in the Angler Quest and go fishing with you. I said, Art, I'd love to make this happen because Art's not a fisherman, but he's open to new experiences. Dixie Dave, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner, had also, but now that he's sold the restaurant and somewhat retired, although he hates to admit it, had time to go fishing now too. So I got these two guys, I got our schedules coordinated, and I went out on Saginaw Bay in my beloved Skinny Water, which is holding fish very well for this late in the year. Fished with Art Lewis and Dixie Dave. And for once, and I think this may be the first time this has ever happened to me, I was actually the youngest guy on the boat. Let's just say there were a lot of years of experience on the water that day. And there were a lot of good stories and a lot of fish. And it was just so much fun. Again, to take good friends out on the water in a completely non-stressful environment, catching fish and having fun. And that's what it's all about. I did find it interesting. Now, think about this. When you're fishing with wild game chef Dixie Dave Miner, and Dave has a reputation for trying to figure out how to eat anything you can catch or shoot, we got a bunch of nice walleye. We also got a couple smallmouth. Of course, we got a sheephead. We got a catfish, and we got a long-nosed gar. Now, if Dave wouldn't have been on the boat, the smallie would have gone back, the catfish would have gone back, the sheephead would have definitely gone back, and that gar wouldn't even have come in the boat. Dave says, I'm keeping them. I'm going to cook those things up. So I can't wait for the third hour of this week's show. As we wrap up the show, I got to find out how Dave cooked up that long-nosed gar. I've pulled the Angler Quest, but not for the season, just for a couple of hours. I had to pull it to get the tubes power washed. They're in the marina where it sits, and I'm in a beautiful marina near the mouth of the river. I really like it a lot, but we don't get much water flow, and so the tubes get crudted up. They get junk growing on them. They get grass growing on them. It looks like grass, like seaweed, and you can't get that stuff off. So I pull it once a year. This year I'm pulling it a little bit late because it's the first time I've had an opportunity to, and get those tubes power washed. And it's there's something strangely rewarding about that. To take those tubes that are all crudted up and then make them nice and silver and smooth again. What else? What else? Next, well, this Wednesday coming up, the 9th, I think it is. I've got another Wednesday night live with Amy Trotter of MUCC. I like to check in with Amy about once a quarter and see how things are going on in their world, see how things are going on in Lansing. She has a unique insight into the inner workings of Lansing, the politics of Lansing, the and how that affects our hunting and fishing passions and pursuits. So look forward to that the following week, the 16th. We're going to be live for Wednesday Night Live at the Michigan Brand Meats plant in Bay City. Now, I did one of these several years ago, and people really enjoyed it. A behind-the-scenes look at Michigan Brand on how they make all those wonderful products. By the way, I did get my bear brats back from Michigan Brand for that from that bear I shot in Ontario early in the summer. Oh, man, are they good. Just as you would expect. Outstanding. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show after the break, I'm going to talk with Devin LaFond. Devin is a houndsman who lost one of his dogs in a wolf attack in the UP. How many times have we heard this story? We're going to talk to Devin about that and more. Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News will wrap up the hour. They're getting ready for their big outdoor weekend. Hour number 2, Nick DeShano of Offshore Tackle, talking about trolling, talking about that well-respected Michigan-based family-owned company. Nick Green of MUCC. We'll get a little preview of what Amy's going to talk about. And in our third hour, Rich Krazan of Killer Food Plots. It is the fall food plot planting season. We've had some rain. We'll talk to Rich about that. And then we'll wrap up the show, as I say, with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner talking about that fishing trip and how he cooked up those sea creatures we caught from Saginaw Bay. My name is Mike Avery. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Lots coming up this week on Outdoor Magazine. I am so glad you're here with us. All right, my friends, have a good day. I'm going to stop this live. I will see you tonight, 7 o'clock, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live.